Man, this preseason started off crazy with injuries already. There was already a bunch of people that were already got dinged up, but now even with the preseason, even more people, very consequential players are getting dinged up. So make sure you know this information. I'm going to bring you in this video. Watch it all the way to the end so you don't get messed up drafting the wrong players. Now, first of all, right here, we're going to take a look at the top players with preseason injuries. Now, I'm not going to go over all these people right here. If you want to, look up what's going on with Jefferson or Juwan Johnson or Khalil Shakir. These are old injuries. This is a new update for what just happened over this last weekend, preseason injuries. Here's another list of people, players coming back from injury. If you want to look at anything going on with Godwin or Ayuk or McCaffrey, just throwing those out there, you can go ahead and take a look at these real quick. But what I want to take a look at is the NFL injury tracker for the preseason, the most recent ones. And some of these are very, very new and fresh. So Jaden Reed was seen in a walking boot during Packers preseason opener. I was unaware of this walking boot type situation. Jaden Reed was, I don't know, kind of pseudo number one last year just because there wasn't a lot of other options. But actually, Jaden Reed isn't the most important part. I am steering clear of this guy because I don't really think he wasn't necessarily like a full like number one. He wasn't the GOAT. He wasn't the guy they were going to. He wasn't their go-to man. But they did draft somebody this year, and that is Matthew Golden. I was already taking him in some like underdog, aka best ball drafts, but I went ahead and decided I would even probably move him up on my board a little bit more. So Matthew Golden, just in general, just, stuff that we could take a look at to see how nasty this guy is. He was the first round rookie that Green Bay has taken, the first one anyways, in a long time. He's got great 40-yard dash and speed score coming out of college. 5'11", 190, like I said, super quick, super young, and they're drafting this guy to be their number one. So even though Jaden Reed is technically the one that's over here with the injury, I think this thing does the most for Matthew Golden right here. We don't have any stats to really compare to from last season and stuff like that, but everybody knows you don't draft a wide receiver for the first time in like 23 years, I think it was, for Green Bay, not to go ahead and use him. I think he was already guaranteed essentially to be in a starting spot with him and probably Reed on the outside with like Dobbs in the middle or something, maybe Wicks moving around. Christian Watson's going to be coming back later in the season, but who really knows what's going on with him? Always injured anyways, but Christian Watson's super fast, but this is the future of the franchise essentially here, Matthew Golden. So that's the biggest takeaway I get from this Jaden Reed injury. Now, Taj Spears, another huge one. It's a guy that I've been trying to buy into because Pollard, man, he just has not been the guy, it seems. He gets like 3 yards a carry, it seems. I don't remember the exact numbers. I'd have to go look it up again, but he suffered a high ankle sprain, which for anyone who is unaware, I believe this is the same thing that happened to him last year, that sort of he was out a little bit, then he played through it. And, everyone always comes back from these type of things just a little bit too early. Now, the problem is that you lose a lot of explosiveness. You can't cut on it. Sure, you can run downhill a little bit, but your side to side, your juke rate and all that stuff is tough to find. So they said they were envisioning Spears in more of a timeshare with Pollard. Sure, the coach has been saying that the same thing last year too. But, man, Pollard is looking a little dusty, I'm going to be perfectly honest. But the same thing last year, but he only managed to stay healthy for 12 games, which I already mentioned there. So taking a look at Spears, his scores coming out, nothing super jumped off the page right here. Maybe the burst score or something like that. He's okay size and speed and not that old. He's only 24 years old, so still a great age. But like they said, we can go ahead and down and take a look at the game log. You can see he never really did a whole lot. And there's a lot of games where he just barely got any touches because he was hurt. Just a couple of carries like that, a couple of carries up here. So we'd get dinged up, have to leave, get dinged up, have to leave. And even when Pollard was out, like some of these games, at the end they decided to use him because, what were they going to do? But even some of the games when Pollard was out, he was splitting carries with some guy with the last name of Chestnut. I forget the guy's first name, but man, that was disappointing because there was a game or two where I personally started Taj Spears thinking he was going to get the lion's share, and it did not work out. Another big, huge injury coming in these preseason games. Rashad White suffered a groin injury in the preseason opener. Now, he wasn't splitting carries with Bucky Irving, but he was using some. And now they have, I believe it is like Trey Tucker or something as their third string running back who could come in and fill him. Rashad White was not doing that great, but really the biggest thing with this Rashad White injury is actually, I'm going to be kind of like looking harder at Bucky Irving at his current ADP. Once again, this is one of these guys. It's so interesting to me looking at these scores coming out, but they end up doing all right in the NFL. He's kind of a shorter guy, pretty young still, actually. He was only 21 last year. That's pretty crazy starting the season. But He's one that started off not really getting too much work, which we'll take a look at in just a second, but he ended crazy. So 14 points a game was 19, but like I said, he didn't get a whole lot work at the beginning of the season, but 1,100 yards rushing, 400 yards receiving, 8 total touchdowns. That is not too shabby, but it looks even better once you come down and look at the game log. So right here, 33, 63, 22, 23, 44 for his fantasy point finishes, but he did come out actually getting some carries, 9, 7, 9, 10, but it was like split, maybe a few more, but I don't know necessarily how this game went against New Orleans Saints. It was probably just run heavy and they decided not to throw as much, but 9, 7. And then you look at how the end of the season started going. And then it was double digits from here on out, essentially 13, 12, 25 carries. Look at this, 185 total yards. Running back 1 on the week, but it's a lot of 7, 3, 7. This looks like a game when he got hurt. Obviously, maybe got dinged up. Just 4 carries, but 18, 16, 5, 9, 6 down the stretch and into a playoff game, I believe. They rode him. He was the number 1. And now Rashad White, they're going to be using him even less. He's going to be coming into the season probably banged up. Taking a look at what they say about the injury report. Groin injuries, by the way, they linger, and they're so often get re-injured. It's one of those ones that people come back, oh, I feel fine. And then they come back and, ooh, they're grabbing their groin again. So if he's forced to miss any time, yeah, Sean Tucker. I said Trey Tucker. As a basketball player, I'm not even sure. But Sean Tucker could step into a bigger role. But the biggest one I'm looking at is actually Bucky Irving. We scroll down to the next noteworthy injury. We'll scroll past cornerbacks. That's not really my forte. Not an IDP type of player here for fantasy football. But Cowboys rookie Jaden Blue. Now, they have a very murky situation going on there where they got Javonte Williams and they have also Miles Sanders and then their 5th round rookie here, Jaden Blue. He says he's fine, but he's dealing with an ankle injury he suffered actually in practice, not actually in the preseason game, but it was in the same preseason weekend time frame. So we're including these ones in here as well. Now, a 5th round rookie is no guarantee, but who knows what actually was happening with the other two. So this was a guy that people were really hype about for Dallas. A sort of high-powered offense. They got CeeDee Lamb. They brought in the other wide receiver from Pittsburgh. The name slipped in my mind right now. It's not important because we're talking about Jaden Blue, and they were thinking if this guy could get a 60% carry share, and the other two would just maybe split the other 40 or something like that, he could be an absolute league winner, borderline anyways, depending on how things fell, injuries here and there, because of the high-powered offense, and he's getting drafted so late. A little bit on the small side though, 5'9". But look at the speed score right here at 92nd percentile, 4.43 speed coming out of college. He was getting a little bit, and we see right here with the news here on this website, he was getting some mix with the first team offense, which is a good sign for a rookie. But of course, they also are mentioning here the Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. I would have to imagine that even starting off the season, if nothing bad would have happened to nobody, probably Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, between those two would have got at least 60%, if not 70% of the carries. And then Jaden Blue would have probably mixed in. But now he's got this little injury, and rookies coming in, working on their protection schemes on pass plays and all the different little things that come along with being a professional NFL player, professional NFL running back. It's going to probably set him back if he misses any time. And groin injuries, this was a groin injury on him, right? Yeah. Oh, an ankle injury. So that's much like Taj Spears, these ankle injuries. You lose explosiveness out of taking off. You lose the ability to cut a bunch of stuff like that. So it's one to kind of monitor. And I would say it would probably push up one of the other two running backs a little bit more. Miles Sanders going way late, and Javonte Williams going quite a bit earlier than the other two. I think Jaden Blue and Javonte Williams are going close to the same spot. Next up is one that's a little bit older, but I still do want to talk about it because fantasy implications could be crazy. We're talking about Anthony Richardson. No one knew exactly what it was because I think he walked off and then actually got on a cart or something like that, and that always scares people, but it was just a dislocated finger, and it is on his throwing hand, unfortunately. Imagine if it was on his non-throwing hand, it would be a pretty much a non-issue completely, but it's on his throwing hand. It was important to say that, not particularly in this news article right here, maybe the one we look here in a minute, but he was already back throwing at practice, so not too shabby. But Daniel Jones came in for the rest of it, but he didn't even throw 50%, and this is going in a preseason game against scrubs, and you're a former starter in the NFL, and that's all you got. So Anthony Richardson, I don't need to tell you, you know about this stuff over here. He is incredibly fast, athletic, but man, his injury history is crazy. Always hurt, plays a couple, knocked out forever, missed a season, come back, just over and over and over again. See, this is from a few days ago, expected to return to practice day to day, but I had already heard that he's back at practice. He's already throwing, probably off to the side, not necessarily, back with the starters necessarily. But even in 2024, 1,800 yards, 500 rushing yards. Pretty crazy right there. But that was actually a season where he got benched. When you take a look at the game logs, I had him on my fantasy team. What a disaster move. If only he wouldn't have been as injury prone as he actually is. Man, when he came out with these 27 points over here, week 1, I was losing my mind. I'm like, I'm taking this season. Mike, this is awesome. But then after that, I played him and I played him and I played him. And eventually around here, I benched him. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Sorry, I didn't mean to zoom down so fast like that. But man, if this guy can pull it together for a full season, not get injured, whatever he can do to not get injured, really, he could be a game changer. And the thing is, too, they invested so high in him. You have to believe they're going to give him a chance to just keep going and to keep proving whether their pick was a complete bust or not. If they go to Daniel Jones, it means the season's over for the team. So here's a guy to kind of keep an eye on. You can take him really late in the draft. Could be a league winner. Not saying it for sure, but he's essentially free. Or if you're in best ball, it's like one of the later rounds. So take a look at that guy. Next up, and this will be the last one we talk about here, but Matthew Stafford. Now, he's been having this back issue for, a decade now? So once again, he's having back soreness, dealing with this back injury, but it does sound like he's thinking about coming back pretty soon. So he'll be back at camp as soon as possibly Monday. But this back issue keeps going away, coming back, going away, coming back, going away, coming back. So for Matthew Stafford right here, he's not really in his prime anymore. He's 37 years old. Oh my gosh, he's almost as old as I am. That's crazy. But he's been notoriously gunslinger. So if he's in there, I feel like it's going to be better than the other options. Do they still have like 30-year-old rookie Stedham or whatever his name is? I think they might have brought in, what was his name from the 49ers, went to the Raiders. It's not important. Garoppolo, I think his name is, which is going to be way worse for the pass catchers, Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. I always say Puka Kanua. Don't know why I say that. Puka Nacua. But Stafford, well known as a gunslinger, but he, even with the way rushing works in fantasy football, because he does almost nothing, 0, 0, 0, -1, 0, -2, -4. Oh my God, 15, 18 yards. What's this guy doing? He's going crazy. But he doesn't end up with a lot of high picks. So this is generally probably not a guy you're going to want in your fantasy league. But depending on how he does, you can still see, look at the yards, 300. These ones were a little bit lower. He did start off a little bit weaker, but 279, 289, 293, 295, 320. Now, he doesn't run, and you don't want him on your team, but what he does depend on what his receiver can do. And with Puka and Devontae Adams both being a first round and I believe a third round pick as their current ADPs, it's going to be real important what goes on with Stafford right here. So that's the last one that we're going to talk about to keep an eye on right there. But I'm going to give you guys one last one because I love Christian Watson. Man, why couldn't this guy keep it together? This is just a little quick side note. They say he's coming back from it like crazy, but I would have to imagine that he's going to go on the PUP list. And who knows what's necessarily going to go on with all those receivers in Green Bay. But it could get real murky if Christian Watson comes back with all of his speed, coming back from ACL tears and stuff like that. They're going to, it'd almost be worse if they put him in this season, to be perfectly honest, because they always do so poorly when people come back from ACL tears. It's just how it is. They don't have the same speed and explosiveness and all that good stuff. So, hey, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because I'm going to put out content regularly that's going to help you in your fantasy league. Don't forget the like button. Before you go, peace out and keep getting those fantasy points.